This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Rock and roll doggy.
No, it's a musical journey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Rock and Roll Doggies. This is our podcast, two lifelong friends breaking down music that's been important in our lives. And what we're doing is a chronological review of U2's music. U2, their music, and how it's been important in our lives. So we're going through the catalog chronologically. We did Boy last time, and this week it's October. My name is Jason Acquisto. So this is my lifelong friend, Don Pardue, and his nickname is the Smurf. What is up, Smurf?
I'm just kicking it here in Carolina.
Wow. I mean, are you from the street?
I am.
We were just talking about things we've been listening to lately. And if you didn't know, there's a new YouTube channel on Sirius XM. What's it called? YouTube X?
X Radio, maybe?
X Radio. Yeah, there's a lot of great content on there, a lot of great YouTube music, and also some interviews. The one that we heard with The Edge, talking with David Byrne, just fascinating. And then we did agree that Matthew McConaughey was a little bit loopy. I dug it, but I mean, hey, it was definitely all about what's in Matthew McConaughey's head.
I think there was a lot of vodka in Matthew McConaughey's head.
All right. So anyway, here we are. This is episode 3, I should say, episode 3, because Boy took us 2 episodes. This week is different. I was talking to my wife earlier today about, she said, well, how do you like October? Well, how's this going to be different? I said, it's different because a lot of reasons. I mean, it's hard to follow up when you have a great debut like that. And the pressure's on for a sophomore effort. Before we get into the songs, tell me what's your overall, like when you think of October, what's your first reaction?
It is a close companion piece in a sense to Boy. It's focused around a central theme. In my mind, Boy and October are very musically, acoustically, I think they're similar. I've always kind of grouped them together. I group Boy and October together. Then I separate it, and then I have War, and then Unforgettable Fire is a completely different animal, and then Joshua Tree is a completely different animal, and then Octung Baby, you go through the 90s period, we have Octung Baby and Rope and Pop. That's kind of its own genre. So these two albums are similar, but yet they're not the same.
Well, they're companion pieces, I think, is the way I think of them. And you're exactly right in terms of, I agree with the way you've grouped those. And I think this is why we've decided to do this chronologically. It would be easy to just go through and say, now we're doing Joshua Tree, now we're doing Pop. But chronologically, to see the development of the band and those phases, I think I agree with those. So I was thinking about when I discovered this album. It came out in 1981, but I surely didn't get it at that time. I had heard about this band just vaguely. So well, I heard about it in Contemporary Christian Music magazine, okay? Because I was a reader of that magazine, because I was a listener to that genre of music. We were youth group kids. Just a quick background. Don and I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, and we were youth group kids. Didn't go to the same high school, went to the same church, and we were active in that church, mainstream evangelical church, youth activities and things. And I heard about this band that came out of Ireland, and they had all these allusions, ALLUSIONS, allusions to Christianity in their first album. And their second is blatant. There's a lot of specific language on this second one. They must be Christians. We didn't know. All we saw was a magazine article by somebody who was trying to co-opt them for Christian music.
So it's interesting that you bring up CCM. October is listed as CCM's 233rd best Christian album of all time.
Okay, it's only 233.
So,
First of all, it shouldn't be in that genre. But second of all,
it gets better. It gets
if it's
better.
in that genre, it's only 233.
Guess where War is?
Okay, it's in the genre too. All right. So
Yes. Ironically, there's your hint. Ironically, where is War?
I have no idea.
40. I kid you not.
Oh, come on.
I kid you not.
No, that's tragic.
Joshua Tree was number 3.
It's not. You shouldn't be.
I know where you're coming from.
It's not surprising. Okay.
It isn't a stretch to put.
No, it's not.
To put this in their top 500, but it's probably a stretch to stick War in there.
I remember specifically. I mean, it's like vivid memory in 1984 and 85 when I really delved into it. By then, I was a freshman in college, 84. So I was walking around the campus as a freshman, pretty, not the most sociable guy. I had on the Walkman earphones almost constantly, and with the tape, one side had Boy, one side had October. And I just play them constantly, and it would it would auto reverse and play the other side. That to me, I think of my freshman year, and specifically in the fall and winter months, listening to October, walking around Asbury College.
And I have no specific memory associated with this album. I don't, I could recall buying Boy on CD in 86. So unlike you, I don't really have specific memories that are attached.
Dearest Abigail, I write to you with great longing, and also because I lost your phone number. You see, I recently purchased a new phone and regretfully tried to transfer my data from my old phone myself. The horrors. Photos, notes, your number, all gone in a confusing flash. Why, oh why did I not use AT&T Right to You? I could have bought online and an expert would have brought me my new phone and helped me transfer my data for free. I could be texting you hilarious gifts at this very moment, for AT&T Right to You can deliver as soon as today. Instead, I have delivered unto myself only misery. Also, I lost your mailing address in the data transfer, so I'm not sure why I'm even writing a letter.
It's not complicated. Personal delivery, expert setup, all free. As soon as today with AT&T Right to You. Same-day delivery is subject to availability. Select areas only. Service provided by AT&T or an authorized provider. Visit att.com/right-to-you for details and availability.
Let's go ahead and jump in and look at the music itself. I'm struck by the way that you describe those. I think it's exactly right. This is, to me, Boy Part 2. It's definitely a companion piece, if not a continuation of the same kind of phase, the same musical style, the same self-awareness of these teenagers, young adults, heavy issues. Yeah, exactly. Growing up, turning from a boy into a man, and all of those themes. It's like a continuation of those themes. It's not as strong as Boy, not as brilliant, somewhat underrated because it is the album after Boy. It gets compared a lot. It does seem ragged at times, unfocused at times.
Yes.
But doesn't it have some great moments?
It does. I think, there are probably 2 or 3 songs here that are collectively as good as the best 2 or 3 songs on Boy. The album really loses part of its luster with some other tracks that are lyrically, there's some meandering going on. Musically, I think there's some meandering going on. It's as if the songwriting is not as, generally speaking, is not as sharp as I think it was on Boy. Now, there are reasons for that. For people that don't know, the lyrics for this album were actually lost, I think, at a nightclub in Portland, Oregon. And so the band had to start all over. So that could be, and actually, here are a few of the songs. They recovered the lyrics back in 2004.
Yeah.
Here are some of the titles that were originally included that were lost. Right?
These are songs, titles of songs. Okay.
Pop, Cars and Aeroplanes, Father is an Elephant, G to E or C to E, Beatles, Drive on John, Pete the Shop, False Prophet, Buzz, Street Mission,
Okay, so the notion that all the good stuff for October was in the briefcase.
Right.
We don't know. Those sound kind of like Syd Barrett
Yeah.
era of Pink Floyd, right? But
Yeah.
my wife accused me of being a conspiracy theorist. She's like, who would steal the briefcase full of lyrics? She has a good point. I mean, did somebody know that this was going to be the biggest band in the world? Probably not. It makes a great story. I do think it made a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress.
Oh, yeah. This is their second album, and it's stolen.
Yeah. So same producer, though, Steve Lillywhite. And I think that's what makes it sound a lot the same, at least in a general sense. So, man, you cannot go wrong when you start the album with the song Gloria. So let's jump right in. Tell me about Gloria.
First of all, the live version of this on Under a Blood Red Sky just really rocks. I think it is clearly one of the top 3 songs on the album, maybe the best song. And it punches you right in the gut. You don't have much question about where the band's coming from. They're quoting references to Psalms 30, James 5, the book of Colossians. I mean, it's actually a very gutsy move for a band to come out in their sophomore effort and start entering the quote unquote secular world by preaching biblical phrases.
Right.
U2's always been the kind of band that they're not dictated by the Christian culture and what Christian culture thinks they should do. Mm-hmm. And conversely, they're not dictated by what quote unquote secular world suggests they should do too. And this is probably their first venture into that mindset.
Yeah, exactly right. And everyone has probably heard, or at least, it's not a big secret that they had become involved with this Shalom Fellowship, 3 of the members at least, all of them except for Adam apparently, and had become part of this small group, this Bible study, this small Christian fellowship, to where they had begun to take their own faith more seriously. And, the narrative is that, and they even thought they might not want to continue as a rock band and all that. So that might be true. I certainly can understand how, as a young person, as a young man, 20 years oldish, you're figuring out who you are and your own faith journey, and how that faith shapes who you are, what you want to do for work and your art, for sure. So it seems like as they came to that crossroads and figuring out, do we want to be in this band, they kind of decided to put it all out there. And they were like, shove it all to the middle of a table and put it out. I'm reading from an article online. Bono said, I actually wrote this really quickly. I think Gloria expresses the thing of language again, this thing of speaking in tongues, looking for a way out of language, like, end the quote there. But it's like he's trying to figure out how to say the unspeakable. It's a very biblical, spiritual concept, talking about how the spirit groans and that he's trying to express the things of the spirit. And, legend has it that he just opened the microphone and began singing. And these are the things that came out, and that he had picked them up from Latin classes and his religious upbringing. However it happened, it works. It works so good. It's an all-time great song. It's a great anthem. Like you said, in concert, it is fantastic.
Yep.
But when I went back, so many times when you hear a live version of a song, especially by an artist you love, the studio version is not as good, but this is almost as good. It still is really strong as a studio cut. The energy is there. The passion is there. It's a joyous, spiritual song.
I love the fade in on that song. I love it. It works I love fade ins. And this works so well as a fade in.
Yeah. And I don't even know why. And you're like, why do that?
Benbridge is your personal jeweler, your on-call treasure hunter, and fearless fashion explorer. 20 years ago, we introduced the most beautiful diamond we have ever offered. The signature Forevermark diamond, found exclusively at Benbridge, is beautiful, rare, and responsibly sourced. Each diamond is hand-selected and graded beyond the normal 4 Cs. Less than 1% of the world's diamonds qualify to become a signature Forevermark diamond. Click the banner to explore our signature Forevermark diamond collection. Benbridge is your personal jeweler, your on-call treasure hunter, and fearless fashion explorer. 20 years ago, we introduced the most beautiful diamond we have ever offered. The signature Forevermark diamond, found exclusively at Benbridge, is beautiful, rare, and responsibly sourced. Each diamond is hand-selected and graded beyond the normal 4 Cs. Less than 1% of the world's diamonds qualify to become a signature Forevermark diamond. Click the banner to explore our signature Forevermark diamond collection.
Benbridge. It's the album fading in. That's
it's like
so
it
cool.
just kind of mysteriously arrives out of the clouds.
Well, that's something they also will do later on with, Where the Streets Have No Name.
How many 20-year-olds were writing rock music in Latin in the early 80s?
I think it shows, first of all, that he's not just throwing out simple Christian biblical phrases.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to get to the, like you said, he's trying to get to the very meat of what this song is trying to convey, and it comes out in Latin. Because he can't eloquently express that in English. That's heavy stuff for a 20.
It is for anybody.
Yeah, it is for anybody.
But then also, he does say in the lyrics specifically, I try to sing, I try to stand up, I try to speak up, and I fall down, or I can't do these things. So he does it in this Latin expression, and then also in plain English, so that he doesn't leave anybody out, and it's not total pretense. He is reaching for, excuse the way this is going to sound, but he's reaching for God. He's reaching with his own spirit.
Yeah. There's a little bit of link to this with Where the Streets Have No Name.
There's a yearning. There's a yearning there that this is almost like the intro, if you will, to Where the Streets Have No Name.
Oh, for sure. And so many other songs too, because you could almost put a link to Wake Up Dead Man. You could put a link on so many songs, because this is the inner soul and spirit reaching to try to make a connection with the supernatural, the all-powerful God.
It makes me want to listen to the song now.
Yeah.
It makes me want to fire it up and listen to it.
One more thing on Gloria.
Okay.
Adam Clayton, bass solo. That's
very,
so
very
cool.
Good. Very good. Adam Clayton is the star of this album. If Larry Mullen Jr. was the star of Boy, Adam Clayton may be the star of October, which is so strange because he's
the only non-believer.
That's what you call irony, is that he wasn't. Yeah, but the first track, the signature track, he gets a bass solo. He gets and also, I didn't know this. Neither of us are musicians. Okay, so this is new to me. Gloria highlights, this is Wikipedia. Gloria highlights bassist Adam Clayton as it features 3 styles of playing in one song. Okay, using a pick for the most part, playing with fingers during the slide guitar by the edge, and then a slap and pop solo toward the end. Bow, 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 bow.
How would you like to be Adam Clayton? You joined a rock and roll band, and you've had some success with your first album, and the band comes out and says, we're going to release a Christian-themed album, and he's the only non-believer. I mean, that would be like Michael W. Smith waking up one day and saying, gee, I didn't know I joined Slayer. I mean, I'm putting that in the early 80s context there, but I mean, it's got to be, you're left scratching your head going, this is not what I signed up for.
And also, I do want to remind everyone that our next podcast will be what if scenarios where, unlikely lead singers of bands, Michael W. Smith with Slayer. So yeah, I know it's crazy. And like, what did I get myself into here? Again, it's like, you've seen so many of those times where that breaks apart a band. Like, I don't know. Remember how Kansas, the band, when like Kerry Livgren became a Christian?
Kerry Livgren,
and that became like, okay, who's the Christians and who's not the Christians? So it did the opposite with them. They're like 4 best friends, unbreakable. So, track 2.
I Fall Down.
I think this is a really, really good song. And I know we're probably falling victim. People that are listening are probably thinking, these guys are just homers and they're saying this stuff. As we get into this, I'm going to be critical of this band on this album to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But however, this is not a song where I'm going to do that. It's a unique writing style. He's writing in the third person, something he hasn't done before. A woman named Julie and a man named John, and they seem to be interconnected by the fact that neither one of them can overcome something without the other one being left behind. They're all kind of, they're both kind of linked together to their successes and failures. And, I don't know if that's spiritual or if it's an addiction or if it's depression, but this is a really well-written song. It's well-written in that I don't lyrically in and of itself, it's not a extremely well-written song, but the emotion that it conveys with the simple theme that is there is quite poignant. I think it's a really good song on this album.
I think you're right. It doesn't use superb lyrics, but it conveys feelings. It also doesn't try to do just the play-by-play of some couple like Steve. Yeah, like Steve Miller's "Take the Money and Run," and they did it. And they did that, but more like, here's the way this person's feeling, and here's something that the other person feels, and like you said, they're linked together. And I'm glad I don't know. I'm glad I don't know what the link is and what their lives are, because it's so relatable.
I love this. Julie, wake up. Julie, tell a story. You wrote the letter, said you were going to get there someday. Going to walk in the sun and the wind and the rain, never walk back again. Now you're falling down. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I don't know if I would assume that was written after the lyrics were lost, but that's relevant.
Yeah. First time we've heard a piano on a U2 record, and it is a lovely piano intro. I think it's surprising. I didn't expect it, but it sounds so good. It also underscores the personal faith journey with kind of the theme there of finding hope, finding salvation. I think because it's that, again, reaching out. I can't do this on my own, but I need salvation from something outside myself, unable to redeem myself on my own. And I fall down. It's a very biblical thing. I for all have sinned, that kind of idea.
Broke myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing too, that this is, I guess it's a metaphor, but to me, man, I was a freshman in college and I was a mess. But like, I want to get up when I wake up. I mean, that was a literal reality to me as an 18-year-old kid, that like when I woke up in the morning, I just want to stay in bed. And, you always say, as soon as I wake up, I want to get up and get ready for class or do whatever. But I mean, we've all gone through periods where we just kind of, would rather stay in bed. I want to get up when I wake up.
Or it could have been written strictly from the third person, and that he was writing about two people that he knew.
Could have been. This is JJ and the Smurf. We're on Rock and Roll Doggies, as we break down a chronological review of U2's music and its impact on our lives. Hey, are we on social media? We're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, right?
We are not on MySpace, but we're on the other three. Yes, sir.
I want to get on MySpace. We'll have to look into that. I Threw a Brick. This is a Larry Mullen track for sure. And this is almost a 4-minute drum solo. It's just, I do think the rhythm section is the star of the band at this point in the early. This is another disgruntled youth grinding adolescent tale of, I'm walking around and the world sucks and blah, blah, blah. Bono said, this is a quote I found on Wikipedia or somewhere, it's a song about not liking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is exactly what it is, right? And
self-loathing.
How did that hit me in 1985? It's pretty good. It's pretty good capsule right there. How about you? And you're 2 years younger than me. Right. So you were how old in 85? I was 19.
17.
And so when you heard this,
I think I did not interpret this as self-loathing. I interpreted it as, at the time, an angry song. It was kind of the song that I played if I was feeling a bit violent. Not that I was, I'm just saying if I felt violent, this might have been queued up in my cassette player in my car. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. This is one of those songs I skipped over.
Mhm.
And this album lends itself, unfortunately, to skipping over some songs. Unfortunately, I skipped over some songs that I probably shouldn't have, because I look back on them now and say, this was a really good song. I liked I Fall Down. I
Mhm.
liked I Fall Down when I was 17, but I have a greater respect for that song now than I did when I was 17.
Sure.
I threw a brick through a window. Even now, it doesn't capture me. Again,
Mhm.
this is one of those songs that I think musically and lyrically, it sort of meanders.
I'm like you. This is not a favorite track. I definitely have fast forwarded through this many times. It's not, to me, it does kind of meander, and it kind of just grinds along. And I feel like, and I do get it. And I have enjoyed the song. It's definitely like
It feels like a B-side.
yeah, it feels like it needed something else.
Mhm.
And so I do think it's funny that you said that it brings out that kind of the violent urge. My reflection, when I thought about it, my direction, and the way that he phrases that, the way he times that reminds me of a little swagger of like the way Mick Jagger might have phrased it when he was in his late 60s, kind of strutting around phase, to where this reminds me of a Paint It Black kind of a
It's an
FU
interesting
world,
take.
you know?
I haven't thought about that. It's an interesting take.
But it makes sense when you think about kind of that chip on your shoulder. Paint
Yeah.
It Black. That's what Paint It Black makes me think of, is that the whole world can go to hell, Either way, it has that kind of angry youth, disgruntled kind of feeling. So we agree, not the strongest track, and not one of my favorites in their catalog, but it's okay.
Rejoice. It's a catchy tune, but again, I know what the band was attempting to achieve. It kind of harkens back a little bit to Gloria. We were introduced to what the band was looking to achieve with this album on Gloria. There's no question, boom, right out of the gates, they're coming at you with Christian theology.
Making a statement, first track.
Making a statement. I Fall Down and I Threw a Brick Through a Window. To kind of take a step back from that. And then with Rejoice, we kind of come back to that. So It's interesting because we come out with this exaltation in track 1. Track 2 is I Fall Down. Track 3 is I Threw a Brick Through a Window. If you just look at the titles, things are going badly. Now, track 4 is Let's Rejoice. So the whole album is to this point, it's kind of cyclical. It's kind of, the way the album is constructed tends to lend itself to kind of the ebb and flow of the Christian faith.
Oh man, that's good. That's so true. I didn't think about that before. It's so true.
That's all I have for Rejoice, because it just doesn't, it's a nice tune, but it just kind of, again, I know what they're trying to convey, but lyrically it just kind of lays there.
Yeah, I wrote down it's more bumbling. It's like bumbling along. Like, the kid, the person in I Threw a Brick Through a Window, they're making themselves do what they know they should do by, hey, I can't change the world. I still want to break that window. But hey, I can change the world in me. That's what my job is. So like that's a nice little lyric that I think was also pulled out by to be a Christian lyric, and it is. That's solid theology right there.
Yep.
I do like the lyrics where you say, "What am I to do? What in the world am I to say?" That reminds me of that kind of searching around on the album Boy, and then it's a cycle of the life of a believer.
I think too, we sometimes want to look deeper into something instead of accepting what the writer is saying at face value. And I mean, there are always truths and nuggets that are hidden in lyrics and songs, but sometimes you just listen to the song for what it is, and the song speaks for itself, and there's not a whole lot of commentary to be made on the song.
Exactly. Sometimes I'm guilty of trying too hard to go too deep.
It's falling outside of buildings and tumbling down.
So here we are. We're looking at October. It's the second album in U2's catalog after a brilliant debut of Boy. Here's October. Lyrics stolen. Pandemonium in the studio. Steve Lillywhite. And then The Edge learning how to play piano. So like a lot of things happening here. Here's the song Fire. And I'll tell you, I think this is a very strong track. Here's some trivia. I didn't know all of this, but it was the first U2 song to hit the charts in the UK.
That I didn't know.
It was a single from before Gloria actually was released. Fire was the first track, first single released, reached number 35 on the charts in the UK. Also, and I don't know the full story behind this, but for some reason it was recorded in the Bahamas.
Yeah. It's funny. I was in Nassau, when was that, 2 years ago? And I found out this song was recorded in Nassau. So what do? I go to Google Earth to see, I wonder if I was...
These days, home is where the everything is. Your work, your gym, the kids' school, your whole life. Xfinity XFi is internet built to handle it all. With XFi, you get the fastest speeds for all your streaming needs, coverage for all your devices, parental controls, and the Xfinity app to control everything. Keep your whole house humming with Xfinity XFi. It's simple, easy, awesome. Go to Xfinity.com/XFi to learn more.
Produced for Richard Lerma. The client is the Home Depot. Production date October 21st, 2020. Copyright 2020. This is a 30-second stereo spot in Spanish. Spot title: Pro Paint /Bear Ultra Scuff Defense $29.60 Hispanic /CN 30. Ad ID YHTHD24RP30.
Como pintor profesional, sabes que tus clientes quieren un acabado mate, pero no quieren pagar el precio de tener que batallar con mugre y marcas. Usa el nuevo Bear Ultra Scuff Defense de The Home Depot para un acabado mate hermoso, más una defensa contra manchas y marcas. Y ese precio, desde solo $29.60 al galón. Y eso es antes del descuento Pro Extra. Una pintura mate que resiste las marcas. Bear Ultra Scuff Defense, solo en The Home Depot. Haces más, logras más. Disponible por internet y en tiendas seleccionadas.
And it was about a mile away from where the studio was. It's no longer. I think it's no longer there. We'll probably differ on this. This song, I think there's lyrical repetition. The words fire and fall, it's just too repetitive. Like the Firefall, I'm thinking of, a 80s, 70s, 80s band. You Are the
Just
Woman.
Remember I Love You.
That's right.
Just remember I love you.
You Are the Woman That I Always Dreamed of.
Join us next time for Yacht Rock. Okay.
That band split off from Flying Burrito Brothers. We're gonna do a podcast on them one day. But
these are podcasts that will never happen.
That will happen 15, 20 years down the road.
We'll see.
This song just I don't know. When I spoke earlier about songs that just kind of I didn't think were very good, I don't think this one's very good.
Well, I do think that it might not be. Again, I think the whole album is not as strong as Boy, but I think this is one of the better tracks, and maybe this is just personal taste. I like that choir in the beginning, that children's kind of choir. That's cool. I don't know why. I think the pace and the structure of the song is more polished than a lot of tracks on here. It's certainly more than Rejoice. You are right. You're certainly right about the repetition. And so there are a lot of phrases that are repeated on this album, Fire. The song Rejoice, which is also the only lyrics of another song that is not titled Rejoice.
Yeah, let's talk about repetition.
I know.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that Fire, there's a lot of repetition of lyrics. I think it's a really strong guitar work on that. And I
agree with that.
That makes me feel good because it makes me feel like I know who this band is, and it makes me the guitar there. So
sonically, it's kind of quintessential U2. I will grant you that. It has that U2 quote unquote sound.
It does. Yeah, it certainly does.
It's it's not overly ambitious. It's just but they're still trying to identify who they are as a band at this point. And you can see that, they're trying to figure out kind of beginning to test the boundaries of who they are, but yet still trying to stick to the core of their sound. They've introduced in this album trumpets and bagpipes, for example. This album is still, if you listen to it, it's still, like I said, it's quintessential U2. And this song is one of those, I think, songs that tries to, solidify their sound. But at the same time, there are moments in this album where they do tend to branch out a little bit more. Particularly, I think, with the next song, I think there's sonically, it's different than anything else they did on the album.
Yeah, did Brian Eno come in and guest produce this track? It has a lot of atmosphere.
Oh, you're talking about
Tomorrow? Yeah, so Tomorrow.
It does have. You're right. It has a little bit of that Unforgettable Fire kind of.
A little bit.
A little bit. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't feel out of place. I'm stretching it with Brian Eno reference. But I mean, when I first heard it, I thought this is just a sad, somber kind of dirge kind of thing. And then realized that this is about his mother's death.
Won't you come back tomorrow? Won't you come back tomorrow? Won't you come back tomorrow? Can I sleep tonight? Outside, somebody's outside, somebody's knocking at the door. There's a black car parked on the side of the road. Don't go to the door, don't go to the door. I'm going out. I'm going outside, mother. I'm going out there. Won't you be back tomorrow? Won't you be back tomorrow? Will you be back tomorrow? La, la, la.
He said later, this was a detailed account of my mother's funeral.
First of all, it's by far the most personal track on the album, and maybe the origin of a lot of what he's written about all throughout their career. This is a theme, the death of his mother. It's a theme that it made a pretty significant appearance on Songs of Innocence.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I think we covered this on Boy, but I think his mother had a stroke at his grandfather's funeral.
At the funeral.
So this is a very, very significant event in his life. To me, I think it's kind of this convergence of Christian faith and death, because it's almost like they're interwoven.
Yep.
You're kind of going back and forth, and he's looking for faith and assurance in a time of darkness. I think it's probably in the top third of tracks on this album. I like the song Always Have. You've got to know people at CCM were just speaking in tongues after hearing this. I mean, this is one of those, oh my gosh, we've hit the mother lode now.
Yeah.
We got a band with this quote unquote secular label that's writing stuff like this.
They're one of us. He said the word Jesus.
That's why War checked in at 40.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything, you're right. It's just laid open as the searching of a young man to make sense of the things that have happened to him. And this is the first, I guess, I can't remember anything on Boy that was this specifically about the death of his mother. But this one is certainly, and it's so specific too, when you get into lyrics like, open up to the Lamb of God, to the love of he who made the blind to see. He's coming back. I believe it. Jesus coming. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, mother.
That's a benediction.
Oh, it's so interwoven. Yes, it's the pain of losing someone that dear to him, and then finding some meaning, or finding some just what his whole existence was about.
As you were talking about that, I couldn't help but wonder why was this topic not broached in great detail on Boy? Why did it just? It's obviously a very, very significant event in his life, even to this day. Why was that not in the forefront of their material? Or, maybe they wrote it and said, you know what, we're going to hold on to this one and spit it out in a subsequent album.
Now that I think about it, the song "I Will Follow" is allegedly about him and his mother and that relationship, but still, maybe he just didn't have the awareness at that point of that being such a driving force in him. And who can say when things come out of you emotionally and artistically?
Right?
Yeah. So Tomorrow, my original impression, not a strong track, seemed unfinished, seemed sloppy, but I do think that it's a good track. I think it's strong, and it certainly is emotional, and the imagery is wow.
I love the bagpipes. I love the bagpipe intro.
Yeah.
Any song that uses a bagpipe automatically gets bumped up a star.
But it's not a gimmick. It's not a novelty. It's really done in a subtle way.
It's the most Irish sounding song I think they've ever made.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in October. My birthday's in October. And I've always loved the fall because it meant my birthday. It meant the World Series. And it meant just a lot of things about the fall. Who doesn't love the fall? October, the name of the album, the name of the track. It's my favorite month. And this is such a cool song. It's cool because it is a piano song, and it's short. And this is the most melancholy gospel song of their early career, right?
I've always liked this song. It's a very different song. The intro is gorgeous. It's very minimal. It's kind of inserted in the middle of the album. It's a song that if you were to reconstruct this album, you might be inclined to put it at the end.
Yeah.
It fits better like a MLK type song. Kind of this recognition of the dichotomy of spirituality versus materialism, kind of metaphorically a change of season from life to death, from warm to cold, as October is. There's not much there lyrically, but what is there is good.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad it's a short song, because
yes, it could not be a 4.5 minute song.
Yeah. Another verse would have wrecked it.
Yep. It would have,
it
would have, you're right.
But you're so right, because this is almost a benediction kind of song, especially with the ending. You go on and on. And the way it fades out, at least now it does, before it became the intro to New Year's Day. Song placement on an album is a lost art, because in the age of digital music and downloading, it doesn't mean anything anymore. But it does to us, and it does on these albums. Like you said, this might work better at the end. I totally agree. But here it is in the middle or toward the end. With a Shout, this is a rock and roll song about the crucifixion. This is wild and emotional, and great drums by Larry Mullen Jr., just frantic. It is exactly what it spells out. The side of a hill, blood was spilled. We're going back there. I want to go to the side of the feet of he who made me see. I think it's, although about the crucifixion, it's also a song of hope, because it's a song about redemption and the New Jerusalem, which is the next world and the eternal world. As believers believe, that's the way it'll go. And so this came out of their Bible study for sure.
I like what they're doing here. I like what they're conveying. Again, it's not something that was really in the forefront of the post-punk music scene for sure.
No.
It's pretty gutsy, really. I can appreciate that. I just, again, this is another song that I think it's just pretty simplistic lyrically. Jerusalem, whoa, Jerusalem, 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 shout, shout with the shout, shout with the shout. That's the chorus. I want to go to the foot of the Messiah. Again, it's not bad. It's just, this seems to me like a song that they threw together. I don't know. For example, they lost lyrics in Portland, Oregon. It's it just doesn't seem like this song is fully developed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely all the things that you said. I don't think it's a great track. I think it is it is a well-produced, good song. It definitely score in terms of songs about the crucifixion against other bands. I don't think the Clash had as many as U2 about the crucifixion.
No, I don't think so either. Right, I would agree with that statement.
So I mean,
I would have
it's
to go back and look at that, but I would agree with that.
I don't find this to be an incredibly well-written song as far as the lyrics go. And I guess because, hey man, it's just not Boy. Boy was so self-aware and all the things that we just kept fawning over about, like, wow, the lyrics. And this one, it's good. And think about if there was no Boy, we would like this better. But the bar was high.
And retrospectively, it's nestled in between. War was a well-written album. Boy was a well-written album. So this song is nestled in a group of albums where, to your point, the songwriting, shall I use the word subpar songwriting? I'm using that relative to the other albums of the time that the group made. It tends to stand out a little bit more because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think this is almost Boy light.
Yep.
Okay. So it could be thought of as a companion piece to Boy, Boy Part 2, or Boy Light, or Boy the Outtakes.
Little
Same.
Boy.
What'd you call it?
Little Boy.
Little Boy. Weirdest track of all, Haunting. I loved it because I was a weird kid at 18 and didn't know where I fit in, but Stranger in a Strange Land, a lot of descriptive imagery here. He looked at me like I was the one who should run. What is it? What is going? So I did some research, and this song is actually.
This song, by the way, I love this song.
Okay, great. I like it too. I did feel this at 18 years old, and certainly felt this out of place feeling. The interesting details. I love the line about smiling face I can't forget. Maybe you know this. This song was written for the album October in 1981. There's an interview in a Dutch magazine where Bono explained what the song was about. When he was in Berlin, he visited the Wall. He climbed in a looking tower and from there watched into East Berlin. It was there he saw in the distance an East German border soldier about the same age as Bono, about 19. The song describes the feeling he had when he tried to make contact with that soldier. So the stranger in the song is the soldier and the strange land is East Germany.
Yes. I have even heard it that they encountered him face to face. We asked him to smile for a photograph, waited a while to see if we could make him laugh. A soldier asked for a cigarette, his smiling face I can't forget. I like this line. He looked like you across the street, but that's a long way here.
I know, that's a good turn of phrase.
It's I like the song not because this is one of those songs where the lyrics carry the music don't carry the lyrics. I think the lyrics carry the music on this piece.
Great point.
Only because there's a really nice backstory. It's almost a little bit like I Fall Down, and that there's a little bit of a backstory going on here that tends to help add a lot of credence to the song itself. If you don't know the backstory to this, I think you lose something with this song.
Yeah, but I think it's still valid because I felt like when I heard this song, my time in life, I was a stranger in a strange land. I went away to a college where I didn't know anybody, and I was 18, like we're all 18, 19, figuring out who we are. And so this didn't bother me that I didn't know there wasn't a soldier there, that this whole scenario happened. I still felt that I was a stranger in a strange land. So maybe you're right that it loses something, but for me, I felt it.
I've wrestled before with when artists give you a backstory, does that enhance the song for you or does it deter?
Right.
And often I'm of the belief that generally speaking, it deters because it now implants that story in my mind that I can't now remove and I can't completely personalize what the song is about because I've got to think about what you intended it to be. This is a song where it's the opposite. I like the song more because of what he has conveyed as a true meaning of the song.
That's interesting because usually it's the other way around.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's why Dylan is Dylan, because he's so great. And what are his songs about? And if he came out and said, listen, okay, here we go. Lily Rosemary, the Jack of Hearts. Here's what that means. The symbols are as follows, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's better that it doesn't. And so because you're able to apply those to your own experience. But this is the one where you're saying, because you know what the story is, it makes it better.
I wouldn't want to know that for every song that I like or every song that I listen to. And sometimes you roll the dice, you know, and you go, well, I didn't really know that's what he meant. And now I can't really make this song my own.
Ben Bridge is your personal jeweler, your on-call treasure hunter, and fearless fashion explorer. 20 years ago, we introduced the most beautiful diamond we have ever offered. The signature Forevermark diamond, found exclusively at Ben Bridge, is beautiful, rare, and responsibly sourced. Each diamond is hand-selected and graded beyond the normal 4 Cs. Less than 1% of the world's diamonds qualify to become a signature Forevermark diamond. Click the banner to explore our signature Forevermark diamond collection. Ben Bridge.
Again, I think this is the exception.
Well, for sure. And as a reminder, you know, we are, you know, art is art and it's subjective and nobody can tell you not to appreciate or experience it as, you know, to experience it a certain way. It's yours and your experience can be different from the artist and the way they intended it because art belongs to itself and each person and the way they experience it. So that's what we believe here. Moving on to the last track. Is that all? Well,
No,
first of all,
we skipped.
Sorry.
How
Did
can
we
you skip Scarlet? My gosh.
So
it's like skipping Bad.
The song Scarlet, if you look up the lyrics, I got the lyrics in front of me for all the songs that it goes through. For Scarlet, it just says rejoice. One word.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That doesn't bother me. My life would not be any different if this song didn't exist.
A little tidbit here. I have actually seen the band perform this song live.
That's not true. There's no way.
It is true. I kid you not. It was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I saw this band perform it live. And I can tell you that of my U2 moments that I've experienced in concert, this is not in the top 5. This is, it was, I remember it though, because I'm thinking, my gosh, they're playing this. I mean, what's next?
Wait a minute. So was it Dalton Brothers or U2?
That brings up another story. We'll have to.
That's another podcast.
Yes. That's a few podcasts down the line, but it was, it was emphatic. It was impassioned, but it was pretty redundant.
Well, just like on the Boy album for the song The Ocean, we've spent more time talking about it than the song actually lasts. So
it's a Gregorian chant-based rock song is what it is.
It's fine. I'm no problem with it. I don't have much use for it. Okay.
It's a B-side. It's more like a D-side, but it's like an alarm song. Sorry.
That's another podcast. Bands influenced by U2, but not as good. So, all right, is that all? The title is great because it's a classic closing track title. Is that all? I get it. This to me is this summarizes and lays it all out. U2 is a message band. And that's the final word. We want to open the album with Gloria and make a statement. And then, by the way, before we go, we're going to keep telling you stuff because we're a message band. We're not just here to make you dance and make you happy. There's more. It's not all. We're going to be doing this for the next few decades. That's to me what the reason.
That's an interesting take. It's a good take. Not one I would have thought of. That's a good take.
Thank you.
But it's, again, we're seeing more redundancy here, and this song does not make me happy.
Does it make you dance?
It does not make it. Is that all is mentioned 17 times in this song. That's just, golly. I mean, you when you couple "Is That All" with Scarlet, I mean, you're finishing the album and it's just complete redundancy.
Okay.
Again, I guess you have to cut the band some slack because, they were careless with their lyrics and they were stolen or lost, supposedly. I don't know. But, I'm sure I have read that the recording process for this was really difficult, though, because they were under the gun. They probably booked studio time. They got Steve Lillywhite, who, by the way, is an atheist. I'm sure he and Adam Clayton had some nice conversations in the corner after this album. But
wankers.
I'm sure it was. And these guys at this point, they aren't musical professionals in the sense that they can just sit down and whip out a song at the drop of a hat. So I think we do have to cut them some slack on some of this, just keeping it in context with the events that happened
right
just prior to the recording of this album.
Right. And also to think about the bar that was set so high. If there was no boy, would we feel different about this album? So that's, to be fair, it's always in context. Like, and I don't love this song. That was my summary of it. The song itself, I could take or leave. I don't love it. I don't think it's doing anything different musically. It's not pushing any boundaries, but they did, with this album come out and make a statement. But by far their most explicit lyrical statement about their Christian faith. For the rest of their career, it wouldn't be this explicit, be much more poetic, but this is for sure where they are at that stage.
What's their most underrated track?
Fire. Fire is my most underrated track. Well, because I think it to me, it always got lost in the shuffle of like Through Breakthrough Window, Rejoice, and then Fire. Those three, maybe it's just me. I always kind of tried to get to the track Tomorrow because those three were always kind of annoying.
They
but
got in the way.
They did. They just kind of felt like a quagmire there. And then I began to discover Fire as being its own piece. And to me, it's way better than Rejoice. I just think Fire sounds a lot like Boy and doesn't get maybe the attention. I didn't know it was released as a single until I did the research for this episode. Thought it was and then I kind of rediscovered it, and I like it better than ever before. So maybe it was underrated in my mind only. So what is your most underrated track?
Stranger in a Strange Land. I'm not suggesting it's the best track. It's probably one of those real hidden tracks in the U2 catalog. It's stuck at the back end of an album that's pretty much forgotten about it at this point in their career. But again, I think it's the backstory that makes this album work. It has just if you know the backstory, the song really pops.
I'd be interested to know if they've ever played that in concert.
We need to find that out. I need a bootleg of this.
I mean, maybe on Top of the Pops or one of those early shows that they were on in Britain where they were, one of those shows where they only played one of the two songs they had. They played Trampoline and Party Girl and Stranger in a Strange Land. I don't know.
They only had 3 songs that they could play live at that point. So that was it.
I mean, it just seems like a very weird song to hear live. So that makes it all the more kind of under the radar. But no, I respect that because I've always liked it. What I like about this conversation is that we've never talked about this before. And we've talked about a lot of U2 in the past. I'm going to like that more now, or going to pay more attention to it, I think. So yeah. To me, the standout track, I'll go first here. The standout track is Gloria, not even close. It's clearly the best track. It is one of the best. I mean, it's in the conversation for top few handful of tracks of U2's career. You know, I don't know how many that would be on that list. Let's say top 20. I don't know. It's definitely a great song on a mediocre album.
I have nothing to add. That's my best track, and you said it better than I could say it. So,
That's great.
What's your best lyric? What's your favorite lyric?
My favorite lyric comes from Gloria. I try to get in, but I can't find the door. The door is open. You're standing there, you let me in. And at different times in my life, probably my favorite lyric when it came out was, I try to get in, but I can't find the door, because that was my experience. I couldn't find my own way. And I heard this, and it reflected back to me someone who is passionately expressing that same spiritual struggle, can't find the door. As a grown man now, what is as meaningful to me is that the door is open, and that for me personally, you're standing there as Christ is standing there. To me, my faith has grown to the point to where now I'm able to, through grace, find that door, and Christ is there. But I couldn't have gotten there 30 years ago. I couldn't find the door. Where's the damn door? I mean, yeah.
It when we talk about this stuff, it makes you want to go back, or at least it does me. It makes me want to go back and just spin this album all night long.
Yeah.
And not that it's a great album, but it's particularly with, boys about growing up. October's about coming to terms with your faith. War is about war. We've got these first three albums are very thematically constructed. Of course, then you get to Unforgettable Fire, and nobody really knows what in the world that's about.
Well,
but that we'll fight that battle down the road. But when we talk about this stuff and we kind of encapsulate the music and sort of a nice little, as much as we can, a little tightly wrapped package. I mean, it makes you want to go back and just really dive into this album, not because it's, a great album. It's not Dark Side of the Moon or, Born to Run or anything like that. It takes you to a place where other albums don't often take you.
It's what it meant to me at that time in my life too, because it's almost like looking at old photographs and seeing,
yes,
oh, I remember how I was at that time and how I am now, for better or worse, but looking into a window from a previous version of myself. Yeah. Well, so what is your standout lyrics?
A little bit different. Julie, tell the story. You wrote the letter, said you were going to get there someday, going to walk in the sun and the wind and the rain, never walk back again. I love that. This, I don't know what Julie was struggling with, but, I can take that lyric and really, I can go so many places with that. And not only can I go so many places in my own experience, but I can also sort of like this to me, it's a little bit of like a complimentary piece to Stranger in a Strange Land. But there's a backstory, it's some sort of backstory there. And as the listener is given enough information of that backstory to be able to really sympathize with the character, with John and Julie, just like we're given enough information in Stranger in a Strange Land to be able to sympathize with an East German soldier. So I like the song, and that just, you wrote the letter, said you were going to get there someday. That is almost, said you were going to get there someday is almost the essence of U2. It is, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. It's Where the Streets Have No Name. It's Wake Up Dead Man. It's Please. It's all of that stuff that U2 hashes out for the remainder of their career. And it's summed up in that one lyric, that one sentence.
Dude, that is good. That is so good. I'm looking at those words now on the screen. I knew those words. I never took it to heart like that. It's so good. You're so right. That's the theme from this point forward in U2. What does it mean? Get there. Get where? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. What does it mean to you? Where are you trying to get to?
Well, you say, and it's I want to go there with you. I mean, this is the same. This is the same stuff he wrote about. What, 3-4 albums later, Where the Streets Have No Name.
Yeah, and it's even the same as in if you look at With a Shout on the same album, I Want to Go There.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a place. It is a state of mind. It's grace. It's all those things.
Now I feel bad for slamming the album at the beginning, saying that there are going to be some really bad moments here, and I'm going to take some shots at the album. And then we get here, I have almost like buyer's remorse.
No. I mean, look, it is what it is. It's not as sparkling as Boy, but I do believe there are some really great moments on this, starting with Gloria. And yeah, I Fall Down. I really appreciate your lyrics, your choice of the best lyrics there, because something I never thought of before. It's part of the U2 journey. So let's remind everybody and ourselves what rating we gave to Boy last time. You have that on the top of your head?
I think I gave it a 7.1 and you gave it about a 7.2.
No, I gave it an 8.1. You gave it a 7.1. I changed it from 9.1 to 8.1.
Okay. And I think I gave it a 7. You gave 7.1, 7.2.
Man, the preparation
staff to investigate this
is like, I mean, we need interns.
You don't get this anywhere else. I mean, this is why people pay subscription fees for this kind of.
I guess this is the premium content. So, overall rating on this album out of a 1 to 10 scale for me is lower than Boy. Boy, I believe, was my 8.1 rating. This is more of a 6.4 for me. It's weaker. The spots that are great are great, but start to finish, it's not as complete and not a fully realized piece of work. So, I mean, everybody has, spots where they're not as awesome as other spots. What do you think?
We're in the ballpark. I think our take on Boy was very similar. You probably elevated to a higher level than I did. But yet our take was the same or similar, I should say. Here, I think our take is maybe a little bit different on this album than it was on Boy. A little bit more disparity in opinion, but yet the overall album rating I gave it was 6.7. So I think we're pretty much, at the end of the day, we're pretty much in the same ballpark. This was an album that for a long time I thought, this album is better than Boy. I thought that for years. and then it I guess it wasn't until we dissected Boy that I thought, you know what, this album was better than I thought. And October was maybe a hair less than what I thought it was. Still a good album, but I think Boy was elevated to a little bit higher standard in my mind after the last podcast.
Yeah, and keeping in mind, we're not trying to set the absolutes here. And I'm definitely not trying to reinvent my own feelings or anything. Just kind of taking a step back at this point in life, looking back down the corridor of my U2 experience and thinking, what did I think of that at the time, and what do I think now? It's like you said, I did not realize how much Boy meant to me until we dissected that, the first album, and this one. I think this is probably what I thought of it at the time. But looking back now, I know that, and this is a little bit more maybe objective to say this is what I think of it as an album, as an expression of art. But you cannot deny the power of the moments that we've identified. I mean, I certainly think it's it still is up there with some of the great U2 in moments, you know?
I think that you and I are, and people that are, I don't know, 35 and up, 40 and up, they're able to appreciate the art of, we talked about this earlier, the art of album construct.
Yeah.
That people now are not able to appreciate because, I mean, we just throw hundreds of songs on our phone and we spin them and we shuffle them, and the days of creating an album that actually flows and has a chronology and says something from beginning to end is lost. You and I were listening to this beginning to end. I mean, I'm skipping over, Scarlet, but, we were listening to this beginning to end, and we probably, I'm not patting ourselves on the back, but people that like us or people that are, 35 and up, they can look at an album like this and have a completely kind of a comprehensive take on an album that a lot of people that are just picking up an album and throwing songs on their phone now aren't able to create.
I do think about the order of the songs and the way it goes beginning to end. So that's another topic. Because
that's another podcast.
It is another podcast for next time.
These people have no clue about how many podcasts we have waiting in the wings.
Oh, they're all in production.
They're all in production.
So there's October. Definitely not as great as their debut album, but we knew exactly where this band was going. And next time, as we roll through the chronology of the U2 catalog, we're going to tackle the album called War. Yeah, so once again, follow us on all the socials. I am Jason Acquisto. You can call me JJ. This is Don the Smurf. Take us home, man.
Thank you guys for logging on and listening to our thoughts and one of the most influential bands of the modern era. As Jason said, please be sure to follow us at Rock and Roll Doggies on Instagram and on Twitter at Roll Doggies for details about our next podcast and other goodies as we take the chronological journey through the discography of U2. Until we connect again, folks, good night, everybody.
It's a musical journey.
Produced for Richard Lerma. The client is the Home Depot. Production date October 21st, 2020. Copyright 2020. This is a 30-second stereo spot in Spanish. Spot title: Pro Paint / Bear Ultra Scuff Defense / $29.60 / Hispanic / CN 30. Ad ID YHTHD24RP30.
Como pintor profesional, sabes que tus clientes quieren un acabado mate, pero no quieren pagar el precio de tener que batallar con mugre y marcas. Usa el nuevo Bear Ultra Scuff Defense de The Home Depot para un acabado mate hermoso, más una defensa contra manchas y marcas. Y ese precio, desde solo $29.60 el galón. Y eso es antes del descuento Pro Extra. Una pintura mate que resiste las marcas. Bear Ultra Scuff Defense, solo en The Home Depot. Haces más, logras más. Disponible por internet y en tiendas seleccionadas.
Benbridge is your personal jeweler, your on-call treasure hunter, and fearless fashion explorer. 20 years ago, we introduced the most beautiful diamond we have ever offered. The signature Forevermark diamond, found exclusively at Benbridge, is beautiful, rare, and responsibly sourced. Each diamond is hand-selected and graded beyond the normal 4 Cs. Less than 1% of the world's diamonds qualify to become a signature Forevermark diamond. Click the banner to explore our signature Forevermark diamond collection.
Looking for ways to save on your energy bills? AES Indiana has you covered. From smart thermostats to home energy assessments, we offer simple solutions to keep your home comfortable and your costs down. AES can help you save money and energy with kits, tips, rebates, and more. Visit aesindiana.com/ways to save to learn more about how we can help you save money. AES Indiana, helping you discover real ways to save.